Hi, my name is Christy. I am one of the owners of the Art Den, and I was supposed to be running the workshop for the Tree in the Truck Bisque, but since we are not doing that in person, I wanted to record this video to try to give you some tips and tricks and go over some of the stuff I would have gone over in the workshop. So first thing I wanted to say is that this is pretty intuitive, so if you're watching along and you feel like I'm not really telling you anything you don't already know, then that's fine. You can just kind of open the paints and go for it, and it's gonna look fine. Have a good time, drink some wine, it'll look good. But otherwise, then I will try to kind of go along with how I did things when I made the demo. I did make the demo in acrylic. So this was the demo that you saw. You saw one of these on the pictures. So I'm going to be doing tonight's in underglaze, but I'll talk about the acrylic as well. Also want to let you know, if you have any questions, you can call me or text me. My phone number is 443-967-3663. It's on my website, theartdenllc.com. It's on Facebook. It's everywhere. So you can feel free to call me or text me, and I will be happy to answer any of your questions. So I think that's good for an intro. If I am a little bit start and stop, it's because I don't normally do this kind of virtual stuff. Usually my partner does that, but I wanted to make sure you guys at least had something to go along with if you want it, since I won't be there in person. So first thing is, unpack all of your paints, get out your brushes. These are brand new brushes, so the bristles might be a little bit stiff, so you might want to just kind of soften them in some water, just kind of rub them against the bottom of your cup. You will need a rinse cup and some paper towels or like a rag, and you'll need a separate cup or small bowl with water and a clean sponge. A regular kitchen sponge will work just fine, but you just do want a clean sponge. So I have all of that set up with me here. First thing you want to do is take your clean sponge, get it damp, and wipe down the whole thing. This will get off all the dust. And for the bisque, then you can pretty much be done with it. Although it is sometimes easier to paint on a slightly damp surface. For the acrylic on bisque, it's going to be more important for it to be a damp surface that you're painting on. So for the acrylic, you want to kind of paint in sections. So you want to take the sponge and get your surface damp and then paint that area and then move on to the next one. And it's not completely necessary. You can paint it dry. It's just going to help your paint go on a little bit smoother and avoid some of those brush strokes, those like really thick brush strokes if it's a little bit damp. So like I said, feel free to pause this video, restart. I'm going to be kind of filming and then stopping, so might seem a little bit choppy. It's just because I'm going to film in sections, so I'm not just sitting here in silence painting my truck while you guys are painting your truck, so you can just kind of pause it and then restart it again. So if you are acrylic painting, then again, you want to take your sponge, paint in sections. If you are underglazing, I did find that the red is a little bit chunky, so you might want to just pour a little bit of water in and then close your lid and shake it really well. Just kind of give it a good shake, and that will help it go on a little bit smoother. So I did go ahead and do that. When you're doing your actual brush strokes, regardless of whether you're doing acrylic or underglaze, and we're going to start with the red. I'm going to start with the red anyway. It's just kind of the biggest color. What I'm going to do is just try to make these nice long brush strokes whenever I can. I'm starting with the biggest brush, and you can go back and forth, or you can go in one section, but I'm just trying to make these kind of nice and smooth. And for the acrylic, what you see is what you're going to get. You can put 2 coats on that, on either one of these. For the underglaze, since it can sometimes be kind of hard to tell, you just want a relatively thick layer of underglaze if you want that really bright color that's very opaque. Like if you can see your brush strokes, and you can see that they're kind of going in different directions. You can see some of the white underneath and some of the variation in colors. You're going to see that even more after it's been glazed, clear glazed and fired. So you want to just kind of go over that a couple times and make sure that it's thick enough. And see, like right here, I can see some of that, so that needs a little bit more. So I'm just going to kind of go up there, and even when I'm getting the close parts, just trying to make it nice and smooth. And these same techniques will work for the acrylic paint as well. It's just for the acrylic paint you're going to be able to see the final product, so you can kind of decide whether or not you like it and whether or not you need to go over it. And I'm just going to use the bigger brush for as much as I can. And then when I can't anymore, when that becomes just too big, then I'll go ahead and switch and do the smaller areas. I am going to try not to get the colors on the other sections, so it's a little bit easier if you can kind of go a little more slowly and carefully along the different divisions here than trying to cover up your work later, but you can cover it. Oops, yeah, I just got a whole big mess right there. I'm gonna have to fix that up later, which is fine. The underglaze darker colors will cover lighter colors pretty well, as long as you put it on thick enough. For the acrylic, the sky blue doesn't cover the red super well, so you do want to be careful around those areas of the windows. The green, so when we do like the green of the tree, the black and silver of the tires, all of that's going to cover the red. So that is not as important as you're going back and forth. But the sky blue for the windows does not cover as well. So for that area, you just kind of want to take your time and be careful about it. If you can get yourself some Q-tips, and if you are, like if you went from one area into the next and didn't mean to, oh, you guys can't even see me painting right now. That's okay. If you make a mistake and you have a Q-tip handy and you get that wet and just kind of rub it along, that can help for sure. It's not gonna completely get rid of it on the on that acrylic paint. That acrylic paint's gonna be, you know, pretty much once you get it down there, you got it down there. But like I said, a lot of the colors will cover. So for example, this here, this like line, I didn't paint that on my acrylic, but if you wanted to make that black, or if you wanted to make that silver right here will cover the red. So you can just paint the whole thing red and then come back to it. This snow will cover the red. The white that we're going to use on the underglaze will cover the red. So you can just paint it and, you know, just do the best you can to try to kind of stay where you need to be. Okay, so I'm going to paint the truck and I'm going to paint the bow, and then I will be back on to do the next step. So go ahead and pause the video now, and I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, we are back. Hopefully you had some fun painting your red. So I just want to show you that this is what I have so far, and as you can see, I was not super careful because, like I said, this is pretty much going to cover, so I just was trying to get that red on there. And I don't know how well you can see detail on this video. I was careful with my brush strokes, trying to make them nice and wide, and any place where, you know, there were small areas, and you can still do this if you haven't, where I had to make some little strokes, then I went over it with a larger stroke to kind of, you know, make it look kind of those long and smooth. But if you don't care so much about that, that's also fine. That is, you know, your aesthetic and how detail oriented you are, and how you know, much of a perfectionist you want to be, which is totally unnecessary and up to you. I had some extra, so I did the bottom too. Not that you'll really see it, but, you know, did the bottom, but I did save some for touch-ups later. So the next one I'm gonna do is the green. So it's the next kind of biggest area. So just to remind you, especially if you're using the acrylic, to go ahead and dampen your tree to make it a little bit easier. Now my green glaze is also just a little thick. So I'm just gonna add a tiny bit of water and shake that up. Your acrylic paint, you shouldn't have any problems with that. It should just be able to kind of go on. And before I go, let me go back a step. As far as some of the details here at the bottom, so I'll show you on this one. So as you can see, I did my bumpers like here and here, but some people that had come into the studio to paint theirs painted this whole area all along here silver, so you can do that if you want. You can mess around with the detailing in here. It depends on kind of what you wanted to go for. I did silver mirrors. You could do that silver blue or just leave that red. So all of those kind of little details are up to you. The balls on the tree are another thing that some people wanted to go ahead and paint these, and other people just painted their whole tree green and didn't even worry about it, and then you don't even really see them. So that's up to you. The gold will cover the green, and the yellow we're going to kind of put it on thick if you do that. So to get back to the tree, again, I'm gonna just get that kind of damp again. I'm just gonna paint the whole tree. Now here I've got, the red, this tree butts right up against the red. So just to show you, I'm gonna just go ahead and use my smaller brush on that. Ooh. And just kind of, see if I can try to, I don't know if you can really see this, but I am just gonna try to get that right up against there. Now for the tree, I'm much less interested in these long smooth brush strokes because it's a tree and they're little pine needles, so it's really a little bit easier. I don't need this line here to be perfectly smooth because the tree can be kind of over top of the truck. So I'm just going to use these sort of little circular motions to kind of try to get right up onto where I want that to be. And I'm gonna just put that on nice and thick. And the way I like to do this is I'm gonna go through all of the areas that have color on, like butting right up against it first. I wanna make sure it's nice and thick. You should see that it's covering. So with the glaze or the acrylic, you might have to put on a couple coats of that to be able to not see the red underneath. But if you can see the red underneath on the underglaze, you'll see that when it's fired. And the acrylic is, you're gonna see, what you see is what you get anyway. So you wanna go ahead and cover that now. And if you need to put on a couple coats, then you can do that until it is covered. But that green should cover that red. And right here, I'm just gonna make this nice and smooth. And I don't really wanna have to go back and touch this up. So this is my chance to kind of get this to where I want it. Now that's a little ball right there, which I am going to, am I gonna cover that? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and paint that. So that way everything is the same. I'm just gonna cover all of that with green now and then go over it later. So that way it's all uniform and it all looks the same. And if that slightly darkens the yellow or the gold, it does that for all of them and not just some of them. So I'm gonna get down here. And again, I'm gonna try to take my time on this and make sure this is right where I want it to be. I'm gonna do that for this side as well. And then once I'm done that, once I've done all those sides, then I'll take my larger brush and I'll just go over it and I'll just paint the whole thing. If you want to paint these little holes, I would suggest trying to do that just a little bit, just kind of getting that green in there, because the lights sit kind of loose, and so if there's a lot of white in there, you might be able to see that. So I would take my time and just put a little green inside those little holes, but it's up to you whether or not you want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this again and paint this tree, and then I will turn it back on again. Okay, I'm back. I have done my green. And as I said, I was pretty careful around the truck, so you don't have to go back over that again. But I did want to tell you to make sure, and at this point, you might need to be a little bit more careful if your glaze is wet as far as how you're handling it. But I do want to turn it upside down because it's really easy to miss the bottom of this tree. And again, since this is tree, I'm just kind of being quick and dirty about this and just throwing this paint on here. Now, I did get like a little spot of green right there, but I'm gonna just do that later when I do the touch-ups. So I did my green, did all my inside of my dots. I made sure I got all of it. So the next thing I'm gonna do is the blue, and then the gray or silver, and that. Oh, you know what? I didn't do the wreath. Or the bow. I told you to do the bow when I did the red. I didn't do the bow or the wreath. So I'm going to do that first. And then I'm going to do the blue. And then I'm going to do the gray or silver. And I'll do the black and then the gold. So first thing I'm going to do is go back and do my wreath and my bow that I forgot about. No big deal there. And the wreath, I'm going to do the same as the tree, where I'm just not really worrying about what kind of brush strokes I'm doing. I've already got my red here, so I'm just going to kind of butt that right up against that. And at this point, it's pretty much going to be the same as far as until we finish painting. And then if you're glazing, once you're finished painting, when we turn it upside down and put our name on it, then you're done. Then you have to get it back to the vineyard, and I'm going to pick it up and clear glaze it. Now, if you are using acrylic, we're going to have a few more steps at the end. So, you can, I'm going to pause this again and kind of continue to work on this, and I'll kind of show you as I go. And then for my acrylic folk, I will show you what to do after that is finished. But yes, so I did the tree. I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to do the blue and the gray, and then I'll turn my camera back on and show you kind of where I've done all of that, just so you can see. And then we'll do the black and we'll take it from there. Okay, hope you're having fun. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I've been doing here. So I did the sky blue on the windows, and as you can see, I just covered up the little windshield washers for now. I did the gray, and I did the gray up front. I did the green and the red, which you probably did earlier. I did the gray of the bumpers, and I did the gray in the middle of the tire, and that is everything. So there's 3 steps basically for the painting left. I'm gonna go and do the black now, and this is where we want to be our most careful, because the black is not going to be easily covered, as you can imagine. So you want to kind of use your steadiest hand, and if you are not super familiar with painting, kind of holding it and having your pinky out and kind of using your pinky to steady it. This is kind of how I do this, and I'm going to pretty much use the smallest brush for all of this black. And I'm just gonna kind of, if you can see this, just like I did with the green, I'm just gonna kind of shake this brush gently, and then come in here and do these short strokes to try to get it as close as I can. And you'll see that it'll cover everything. So this is why we save the black for last. I'm just gonna try to go carefully and get all the way around all of it. Now, if you're using the underglaze, you know, and you end up with any thinner sections, then you'll still want to go over those. But if you are using your smaller brush like I am, and kind of going along carefully and just re-upping that brush whenever you need to. Same with the acrylic. because this bisque will soak that glaze or paint right up, then it should be thick enough that, you know, you're covering everything and it should be pretty much fine. So I'm gonna go through and do my black with the smallest brush, and then I'm going to do the yellow or gold. So I'm just gonna kind of show you what that looks like while I have the camera rolling, and then I'll pause it and do all of the actual painting. For the yellow or gold, you're going to basically want to just get a lot of this on your small brush and just be kind of thick about it. So as I'm putting this on, I'm just going to put this on nice and thick and make these sort of little circular motions so that I'm able to get enough on to cover all of this. Now there's such a small amount of this that's actually needed that for the acrylic, I didn't put in a separate yellow for the headlights. So you can go ahead and just use the gold unless you have your own yellow paint lying around. And once you're done with the balls, then you can go on the back here and same thing. Nice and thick and circular. And I will have touch-ups to do around some of these, which is fine. I've got touch-ups to do for some of the other colors as well. So basically it's going to be black, yellow or gold, touch-ups, and then for my glaze people, we're going to put the snow on. For my acrylic people, we're going to seal it and then put the snow on. For the acrylic, the snow is last. So, okay. So you can, oh my goodness. All right, well, be careful. Be careful when you're drying your brush off. Sorry. Hopefully yours don't break. So you can see that that's not perfectly circular, but I'm gonna kind of fix that when I go through and touch it up. So I'm gonna pause this video again. I'm gonna do the black and the yellow or gold, and then I will turn it back on. Okay, so if you're still with me here, and we're still watching this, how much of a pain in the butt was that black? Let's try to get that just right. That was tricky black. So anyway, I did the yellow, and I'm gonna go over the yellow as many times as I need to make sure it covers. So you can see that this has a little red underneath, but this one is solid. That's what I want. I want that yellow to be nice and solid because that means that it'll come out of the kiln solid. For the acrylic, using the metallics, you shouldn't really have too much trouble. You might have to do an extra coat, but the metallic is really good and has a lot of good coverage. So now at this point, I'm going through and doing touch-ups everywhere. So first thing, I also did my black on my windshield wipers, which I'm mostly happy with, but no, needs a little work. Anyway, so I'm just gonna go through and I'm just gonna be checking. So like when I did the gray, I got a little over the green. So I'm basically just gonna go through and look very carefully all the way around and touch this up. Now, for my acrylic folk, when you are done with your touch-ups and your paint, you are happy with your paint, you like the way it looks, because you know what you see is what you're getting there. You want it to wait until it's completely dry, which shouldn't take too long. You can, speed the process up with a hair dryer if you really got somewhere to be, or you can just kind of hang out and wait a little bit. But once it's completely dry, you want to use the sealer, which is, you have two white plastic bins. The sealer is the white that's not fluffy. The white that's fluffy is the snow. The sealer is the more liquidy white. And it's going to, it's pretty liquidy and it's pretty forgiving. You do want to try to use those, some like nice big sweeping brush strokes when you're using that sealer, but as long as you don't let it really pool, you shouldn't have, it shouldn't give you any problems. Like even if it looks like it's pooling, it'll flatten out as it dries and it'll give you that kind of satiny look. That's what you're looking for out of the sealer. And then once that is done, then you can, once the sealer is completely dry, then you're gonna, first, if you wanna keep these brushes, you wanna wash that brush off right away, because once that sealer dries on that brush, that is the end of that, and it will be dead to you and no longer usable. Also, while I'm touching up, like areas where the glaze might have rubbed off because I was just handling it, I'm gonna also get those. That is part of my touch-up. Anyway, so when you're using the sealer, go through, do that, wash and dry your brush right away if you want to have a couple of brushes for yourself to use in the future. And then once that is completely dry, then you're going to put your snow on. So you can do that with a brush. You can also do it with like a little plastic palette knife or something if you've got one of those lying around, but your brush will be fine. And your snow's going to be more of like a dab than a brush per se. So you're going to just kind of get some on the edge of your brush and then just kind of like dab your snow wherever you want it. And I'll show you on there's also a picture of this where you got your ticket. But so I put my snow on the tops and kind of on the tree, and then I put it here and I put it here and I put it everywhere because I liked it and I just wanted to put some snow everywhere. So, put as much snow on there as you want, or no snow, that's up to you. And then you are done. Once that is dry, then you can take your light and you've got this little metal bit. You're just going to squeeze it and pop it in there till these bits sit inside the bisque. Plug it in, turn it on, put your lights on. If they're too loose for your liking, you can glue them, and then you're done. For my glaze people, then you're going to, we're going to do the white. And so for the white, you're going to want to, just like the others, you're just going to, like when we did the balls that went over the pine, the green color, you're going to want to really put that white on thick. And I'll go ahead and show you. And actually, this is pretty much, so the same thing with the acrylic snow, like just kind of glob it on. That's also how you're going to use the white underglaze. So it's going to be a very similar technique there, where I'm just gonna try to get this up here nice and thick and just kind of glob it on. And I want it nice and thick. So that's what we're doing there. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause this video one last time and finish my truck, and then I will show you both of them side by side and we'll be all done. I hope you had a great time. Well, I guess I can say that when I do the actual final goodbye part. So keep painting. All right, folks, end of the night. It's like 11:30 here on Tuesday. I wanted to get this ready for you, and that way if you want to still do it on Wednesday, if that was your plan, you're able to do that. So my underglazed truck is finished. You can see parts of it are still drying. Snow is on nice and thick, and the last thing I did was put my name and the year at the bottom. So that is that one. And I'll just show you this guy one more time too for my acrylic people. So at this point, remember you finished painting, sealer, then snow, then you're done. Unless you wanted to add anything else like glitter, anything like that, then you can go ahead and do that. Plug this bad boy in and turn it on. for these guys, my underglaze people, make sure you get that back to the winery so I can get it glazed for you. And hopefully we can do a workshop in person after the holidays. And regardless, thank you for being able to grab these kits and take them home and complete the project anyway, even though we couldn't do it in person. And I hope that you had a great time and enjoyed your wine, and that we'll be able to meet soon. Okay. Merry Christmas.